Well then, good evening everybody and welcome back to JACKOCAR. It is Season 8 and Round 4 and here we are at the home of last season's Championship 5 where, what's his face, Jake O'Sullivan went and won his second world title. I am joined this evening by myself, my fan, Owen Wyatt's fan and Owen Wyatt. Good evening Owen, how are you?
Well, it's weird to be back in the commentary box, even though it's only been three races. But it's been a long summer. I've come back a race winner, technical points leader, most laps led leader. Just going to get them all out of the way now before they get battered in the race itself. But I now can come in here as the co-commentator rather than the lead commentator. But I have the racing experience now. So it means I can be extra pompous when I'm talking about people who I'm quicker than.
I believe you previously raced in Portugal one time, so you do have one start to your name where you finished P3.
Yes.
And I got to commentate over yet another Ben Shaw win. Um, he always wins when I commentate. Although
Portugal, man.
now I'm lead commentator. He hasn't won anything. So, but a question for you, Mr. Wyatt, before we see any action on track. Do you prefer racing in JACKOCAR or commentating?
You see, if you'd asked me that after I did the Portugal race, I'd probably still say I preferred the commentating. But after last two seasons, I not particularly was a fan of the F1 game in general, and racing has been a bit of a bit more sort of fresh air. So at the minute, I would actually say I'm preferring the driving to the commentating, which is why you'll often hear me keep saying I'm going to be the season 9 champion. Because I'm not sort of committed to the driving. Not to say I don't like the commentary as well, but I think like it probably is more enjoying the driving and the commentary. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to give it my all for commentary, because I still enjoy it. I didn't think I'd be here, so it's better than anything else, isn't it? Really, because I was retired.
You were retired and had a social life the last time we spoke to you, but now Here you are. A race
Alone
winner, hasn't
again.
missed a race, technically the points leader, waiting for a full-time seat to become available, and my co-commentator. It's a weird one, but here we go.
Man of all trades, or whatever.
Yeah, no good at any of them. Here is Michel Goris. Speaking of co-commentary debuts, this is a Season 8 debut for Michel. He's missed the first 3 races. He is still playoff eligible, should he manage to advance to the playoffs, but of course you've got to make those 6 races, and of course there's only 6 races left of the regular season, so let's see what Michel can do as he warms the tyres up here as we approach Maggots and Beckett's. 5 jokers tonight, 2 stages as ever, and we'll guide you through them as we come around. Of course, last week we forgot the joker driver, me and Mr. Baldwin, so hopefully Owen, you can remind me of the 5. I bet you don't have that written down, do you?
Well, I have your tweet, which explains that it is Casper and others.
Fantastic.
Gareth,
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
Jamie Numbers.
We'll do a lap of Silverstone then with Michel Goris. There are 5 jokers, 25% of the grid, but Michel Goris then on his way down to turn 1. This is one of those corners where you can get it oh so wrong if you just take a little bit too much off the curb. Then turn 2 is easy. Turn 3, heavy braking. A little short shoot up to 4, but it's very difficult to get the traction down. And then into 5, which is where we'll see the DRS activated on this pit straight. Not this pit straight, just this straight. The grandstand on the right is where I was sat the other day for the Silverstone Festival. Into turn 6 then, there is a name for this corner. I don't know it, but I think this one, 7, is Luffield. Multiple lines through here, multiple gears you can take, but the generic line that we see Michel takes as we go down the old pit straight towards Copse, that infamous corner where Hamilton and Verstappen come together a couple of years ago. Hamilton in the right, as we all know, takes it nice and flat, does Michel. And then back to Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel for the first time in anger this evening. Slows it right down, picks a higher gear than I would personally, and then the other DRS straight. Down the back end of the Wellington straight goes Michel Goris for his first qualifying lap of the season. It's purple so far in his purple looking car. This I think is Stowe, correct me if I'm wrong. And then another little short shoot up past the pit entry for this evening. Slowest pit lane and longest pit stop of the season. Little left-hander there, then a right. and then another right to end the lap. It's been clean so far for Michelle. We'll get a banker in, and it's a 1:26.2 for Michelle as we move on to Jamie Griffiths, who I believe has an overheating PlayStation 4, Owen Wyatt.
Yeah, so we know plenty about overheating PS4s, don't we, in this league? It's one that I've suffered with a lot recently, and in this warm weather it will actually mess you up if you're in a bit of, heat like we are at the moment. But yes, one of the Joker drivers. We're expecting pole position to be sort of what, mid to low 25s. People are capable of 24s. Jamie Griffiths is off the road at Stowe, so he's not going to set any valid time. But I imagine Michelle Gorries will not stay P1 for massively long. But that's a big disappointment after Jamie Griffiths because, on a Joker you need to be starting a little bit further up. Of course, we saw from, 18th, 19th place. Ben Harrett win the race last time, but even still, you need to be taking advantage of your Joker when it comes around.
Yeah, that is something he's going to have to rely on to get him back into the race later on. That one stop that he can take. Everyone else has to take two, as we see Kyle Smith then. Previous race winner. I think he's got a couple of wins around here in Silverstone. Goes to the British Grand Prix every year, does young Kyle. Nice to see him back in the league full time. It's 2 seasons in a row now. And across the line goes Kyle, a new benchmark, a 26.0. As we move on to Sullivan Lewis, who is down in P11. And he's invalidated. So do you want to talk us through Jamie Wright's lap? He's had an awful start to this season.
I know, it's unusual this, isn't it, for Jamie Wright? Although I suppose he'll often come on song during the playoffs, but it didn't really happen, did it, last season? The whole round, it was just a bit of an off run, so hopefully he'll have that sort of breath of fresh air at some point as he sends it into Albi. It's fully flat out here as you head towards Farm and Chapel. Be careful to not hit any of these red curbs as you head through here, because they will fully unsettle the car. You can see Jamie Wright, absolutely no interest in them whatsoever, as he heads through Village and onto the first DRS zone. And the corner that Jacko doesn't know, being Brooklands, coming up. I'm sure you knew. I'm sure you did know it was Brooklands.
I do, but not under pressure.
And through Luffield. Lewis Hamilton's had the odd spin for here over the years, but Jamie Wright has continued, unfortunately, his poor start to the season, and that's getting it all run through the exit. And the more mistakes like that you make, the more time you spend worrying about, are you going to find yourself in the chase? Are you ever going to get on form? That is an unsettling moment, I think, for the two-time champion.
Jamie Wright, you mentioned his playoff form last season. With the exception of season 1, last season was the first time he didn't win a race in the postseason, which just shows the kind of, well, he did win last season, but just not in the postseason. So he had form very early on with that Joker win in China, and then it never really come back to him, and he's bringing the struggles into this season. He will complete this lap, he will keep it valid, unless he does something stupid here. But after Jamie Wright, we will move very swiftly on to the first of the Hasellager brothers. That is Yori in that number 5 car. Sebastian Vettel vibes. One here in the Kia series last season, did Yori, around... Oh, what is that awful helmet? Oh, for goodness sake. And it's an orange car, so yeah. I won't say much about this one. But Yori down the Wellington Straight, lovely slipstream off the back of, I believe, Mr. Lewis, he'll be playing golf with at the weekend. Competition being ran by Jake O'Sullivan for his mates. Yes, that is right, I do have one. Who else will be there? Michael O'Kk and Ben Harrett, as well as myself. But Yori comes up to the line, and it'll be a 1:26.6, so JACKOCAR golf for the boys. Looking forward to that one. As we move on then, Owen Wyatt, to Connor Byers in that 74 machine.
Yes, Connor, who caused a bit of a stir last week when he sent it into the penultimate corner at Imola and into Khalifa. Khalifa, I can tell you, was very, 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 very unhappy. He's still very unhappy about it. Connor was blaming people for braking too early and all the rest of it, but hopefully he won't run into too many people this week. He's been quicker this season, I think, Connor. P3 at the moment with that time, behind Michelle Gorries and the Joker driver of Kyle.
Oh, Quinn. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so hopefully Connor can maybe not be involved in any incidents this week, because we know he's got the pace. He nearly won a race last season. It's got to happen at some point for him.
It is
what's
coming.
Quinn been up to?
Well, Quinn's invalidated on the exit of Cop, so I just wanted to alight everyone's attention to the new username, CMR. Of course, RDR now dead and buried. But CMR, whoever they are, Quinn is now racing for you. Obviously he's invalidated, so we won't stay with the rest of this lap. Kieran has made it out. He did join us late, but he has made it in time to make his slot. So we'll stay on board as we go through Chapel here in a gold and black car. I wonder if he is doing that to commemorate his season 5 champ. Was it season 5 or 6? It was 6, wasn't it? His season 6 championship.
6.
That Kieran so luckily won. We were all discussing in chat the other day. Of course, it's the lost title of Ben Short. I'm sure many of you will agree. But Kieran, what can he do as he comes up to this final corner? And it will be over the line for the young man from Aylesbury, a 1:25.8 new benchmark, moving to Huddersfield tomorrow morning. As we move on to Waze.
Yes, of course, Kieran, the man who followed home Jake last season to 2nd place in the Championship 5, gave it a right good run, and maybe looking for a little bit of revenge this week as Waze heads through and towards Cops. And maybe I'll try and finish the lap now, and hopefully no one spins. We've got the first half of Jamie Wright, and we'll follow the second half of Waze as he heads in towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Maggots flat out, Beckett's just about flat out if you're really committed, and then Chapel, first part of Beckett's anyway, and Chapel obviously flat as well because you're accelerating out towards the second DRS of the track. In towards Stowe. Obviously we've seen invalidations there already. It'll be a big point of warnings throughout the race, of course, as well. 26 laps, plenty of chances to get it wrong. Avoid these red curbs again for the last chicane. You basically just avoid these curbs everywhere. They're lethal as Waze crosses the line to go slowest of the representative times.
Waze having a very committed season. Of course, Kia Series started this past Tuesday and he's not missed a Cup Series race this season. I was looking at the stats the other day and I did note that Waze has actually competed in every single Cup Series season, albeit he's only had 9 starts and this is season 8. Sorry, I am wrong. It's seasons 1, 2, 4, 7 and 8. It was somebody else who I was looking at. So yeah, Waze not as impressive as we thought, but at least he's committed. It's good to see. Anyway, here's Leroy, the second of the Hasellager brothers, which means he's higher up the table. This is the start of the Fast 10 in the points, and Leroy goes third, and he'll be swiftly followed by the fastest man in team speed. Do you agree with that statement?
Do you know who he is?
Apparently it's Speed Gareth, but he's not shown it this season.
In his ghetto 470, that's what I've been calling it all season.
I quite like it, to be honest with you.
I do, it's ugly. It's hideous, that is.
So Owen White has been back in the stream or the commentary box for about 15 minutes, and already livery slander has begun. As Gareth goes P8. Okay, so next up we'll move on, if that's hurting your eyes. It's Casper, who is on a lap. I was just waiting for the times to come up, sorry. It's Brooklands and then Luffield. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm right. Yeah, not under pressure, look. Then there's this kink. This kink's not named, is it, Owen?
I don't think so, no. It's just a kink. You can call
Good
it whatever
enough.
you want. Oh, no, sorry,
Okay.
no, hold on. No, it's woodcut. Sorry, I'm under
Is
pressure.
that woodcut,
it's
is it?
It's
Oh,
that is
bloody
woodcut, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you know.
okay.
I didn't.
How long have you been commentating?
Two-
And how
no,
many
no.
races have you done around Silverstone?
I don't like Silverstone. On the game. I love it in real life, but not on the game. So is that my excuse? It's my excuse, I've decided.
Okay,
Anyway,
to be fair,
Joker
I would come up
driver.
with it.
We should probably be more focused on this because you got to name him as the favourite to win this race, really, haven't you, Casper? On his Joker, you think this is made for him, wouldn't you?
Well, if Gareth doesn't win, it is set up nicely for
Which he
Casper,
won't.
isn't it? Yeah, which he won't, yeah. Here goes Casper then, over the line. Only P2.
Although, of course, saying that, actually, this is the one race where Gareth was closest to winning, like, genuinely.
And
when
what
he
happened?
He got absolutely screwed over, or as we call it, justice. But you know, people have their own definitions for things. But he'll be trying to get a bit of revenge back for that on his Joker. But I do still feel Casper would be the favourite, and he's qualified high enough up the grid. He'll be well inside the top 10 by the time everyone else is done. So yeah, look out for him as MK Bourne goes 10th fastest. He would have been expecting a little bit more of that, I think.
He would have done. Someone else who will be expecting a lot is Pete Knighton. the points leader going into last week after 2 rounds in the opening week, and then he had a DNF, and he hit the wall with a collision with Gareth, I believe, in Imola, which then obviously meant he lost the points lead. In fact, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, you are unofficially the points leader this season. Obviously, Corey has the points lead of the full-time drivers, but you have the most points. And so that's why we've taken you away from the racing, to ensure that the actual full-timers have a chance. But here comes Pete Knighton, standing 6th in the current table. And what can he do over the line? P1, nice. Pete Knighton back on form. Can he stay there, though, as we move on to Arnaud? Back in what we believe to be a swan song season for the young man from Belgium. I say young man, he's older than most of us. But can he get one last championship, a handful of wins more, maybe another pole position? He was for not today, but he was for a very long time the pole position record holder. But that currently belongs to Ben Shaw, who's not here this evening, along with Jordan Lane, who've been replaced by Danny Quinn and Waze Cuba. But yeah, no luck for Arnaud. So last week's race winner then, Ben Harrett, and me and Barry had no idea until lap 28.
At least you realised on time, though, because that would have been a bit of an awkward one. He crosses the line to be disqualified. So, like I say, I knew he'd be a threat last week, and he took full advantage of his Joker win. Because honestly, I didn't actually realise he was at the front until he got to the end. He nailed the strategy perfectly. Because I finished, 5th last week, and honestly, I never saw him once. And I'd been pretty much everywhere. So, he fully took advantage of the Joker situation. Now it's all about just picking up playoff points, make sure you don't get knocked out in the round of 10, because that would obviously be a major disappointment. As we see, a very nice toe, always much appreciated. And through Stowe we go. By the way, see with Arnaud, I'm going to make sure he's not retiring, because if I'm sticking around next season, he's sticking around next season. No way is this going to be a swan song. He's too young.
young.
But he'll be happy with that. See, that'll be good praise for him. As Ben crosses the line, he goes P6, not too bad. That'll guarantee a start in the top 10. As we see Khalifa heading round. Now Khalifa has been sweating, and you can see the evidence
shows, doesn't it?
Look at that.
Well, we're going to have to leave him straight away and join Jake O'Sullivan, season 7 champion, and season 5. And now sits on 9 full-time wins. It would have been 10 last week, but he held off Kieran to make sure that Ben Harrett got the win, and Ben Harrett returning the favour there with a lovely toe down the... Is that the Hamilton Straight? No, that's the Wellington Straight. No, that's the Hamilton Straight, isn't it?
Which one are you on about here?
It doesn't matter, it's too late. Anyway, ignore me because I got it wrong. This is Jake now coming through Cops. 2-time champion. Can he do better than the other 2-time champion, Jamie Wright, who's down in 14th? Jake O'Sullivan will be no higher than P18, which means the stage is set for Corey Dalton. Owen Wyatt, do you want to take over this?
Yes, Corey was a bit upset at me for racing him last week. I did have a broken floor, so maybe I shouldn't have been. But it underlines his pace. He was up there with me as well in Singapore in the earlier stages anyway. And so he's definitely sort of showing up with some form now. Of course, he was in the Championship 5, wasn't he, in Season 6? Had a chance at winning that one out. But you know what, as long as it's an ERT driver, you know, I'm not a full-time commentator, I can be a bit more biased. ERT's already on pole. That's way
keep
wide.
It valid.
That will keep valid, because oddly enough, if you stay off track for long enough, the game's like, oh, we must have lost time. But I don't think that'll cost him massively. He's got half a second window here to nip into to still be on the front row, and I'm sure that'll be his first sort of objective. I would imagine it puts Khalifa out of reach now, although I did say some people have been setting high 24s, but it's so hard to do that in just one lap. So realistically, this should be a lap for second place. As he heads through the final chicane now, Corey Dalton is going to be a little bit lower, actually. He'll be only 7th fastest. I don't know if it cost him more than I thought. That is a bit of an upset, that. As Khalifa then, as he entered the pits, is now confirmed on pole position.
So is that then Khalifa's first or second pole? That's his second pole this season, which means, Benjamin Shaw, if you're listening, Khalifa has now equalled the pole record. 17 apiece for Khalifa and Ben Shaw. So a rundown of your order there. Khalifa, Pete back on form, by the way. Kieran, who has moving house in mind. Casper, the highest of the Jokers. Kyle, the second highest of the Jokers. Then Leroy, Corey, Ben Harrett, Michelle Goris, and Connor. Yori's a Joker. Waze is not. Fastest man in team speed down at P13. Then MK Bourne, Jamie Wright, Jamie Griffiths, a Joker. Arnoud, Risky, Jake, and Quinn. I missed one of the Jokers there, so I got no idea who it was.
I think it's Jake, isn't it? No, hold on. Maybe I'm wrong as well. Who's our Joker drivers?
Gareth.
Gareth, is he?
Yeah, Gareth's the other one.
I got too confused with you calling him the fastest in team speed.
Sorry, is that wrong now? Because last season it wasn't wrong, but he has dropped off massively.
Well, the thing is, we're looking basically at a season 1 flashback now, aren't we? I mean, Khalifa and Pete on the front row. I feel like we're not making as big a deal about that
season
as we
1.
should be. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're back to the early days. Even I'm back in the comedy box.
Yeah.
This is a proper season 1 vibe. I saw Paul McGuinness was in the chat. He's back in the league. I mean,
yeah,
what is this?
Throwback.
Are we back in the golden age, Jack?
Well, it's not throwback week, I can tell you that much. But I had a thought earlier as I was having a poo, and I thought, wouldn't it be good one day to have a throwback race around Silverstone? And apart from the liveries, we've pretty much got it here this evening. Speaking of the chat, you say Paul McGuinness is there. Somebody else, that one F1 fan, Owen in the commentary box, and he has stopped sweating it out for a change.
Well,
He's not
no,
wrong.
Scott, it's because I was forced into the commentary box. I'm not here because I like it. It's just so I don't run away with a championship or anything, because as Jacko said, I am the points leader and I'm not even a full-timer yet, so... Scott, of course, the owner of Papa Champs, which is in absolutely no way related to JACKOCAR, as much as people might suggest it is.
Oh, is that your brother?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what he's called.
Yeah. Now you can properly stand him and see when you get the lawsuit and all that ready.
I don't know, I'll drop some hate slurs in during this race. I'll save it for the moment. But yeah, for those interested... Owen Wyatt, if there were no reserve drivers, Owen Wyatt sits on 40 points. Corey Dalton sits on 37. Jake O'Sullivan 35. Then Khalifa 32. Ben Harrett 31. And Arnoud de Grief 26. So that is your top 6, including Owen. But here we go then. Formation lap around Silverstone. Khalifa and Pete, front row. Where have we seen that before? ILR, JACKOCAR, probably TGP at one point as well. So, but it's one of those iconic front rows that normally involves a little bit of contact. Season 1 Championship 5 around China. The two of them made contact at turn 1, giving Khalifa a tiny bit of end plate damage, and he did eventually go on to finish second that season. Not second in the race, fourth on the road. But he made it all the way back up to Pete. And then Pete was the eventual champion by 0.3 of a second. Sounds about right, doesn't it? Yeah.
But here they are. It's Ginger Andy, isn't it?
Oh, imagine if we got him back. Of course, Ginger Andy's. He's gone on to... Oh, excuse me, that's wind. He's gone on to bigger things as well, hasn't he? He's a commentator for Kilmarnock. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's been there for a while now, hasn't he? Maybe he's getting a bit bored. Come back to us for a wee bit.
Yeah, just one race.
Just one.
And make it Las Vegas on the last day of the JACKOCAR season. I can't remember when that is. I'll get it for you. December the 14th, I guess. Sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is correct.
So, Khalifa takes the pole. And your stages tonight are lap 7 and lap 13, the Jokers, which means they can pit once if they want, or twice if they need to. They are Casper, Gareth, Jamie Griffiths, Kyle, previous race winner around here, and Yori Hazelaga, who has won here, but not in the Cup Series. It was the Kia Series. So 5 Jokers, 25% of your full-timers are all on that one-stop strategy. 12 of you joining us so far this evening. I have seen that creeping up a little bit as we've gone on through qualifying. I think we're set up lovely for a classic here, Owen Wyatt. I don't know about the weather, but you never know around Silverstone. Yeah.
Now, of course, you're the lead commentator. I'm not allowed to use my line here today, so I'm going to have to do, like...
I'll tell you what.
Aspects.
For this week, you can do the start. I'll try and get you a good camera angle. But yeah,
Yes.
feel free, Owen, to lead the
Arnold.
way.
Arnold's not making life easy for himself. He's already at the back, and now he's got himself a little bit further off his grid slot than he would have wanted. It's been quiet for him to get through there, but anyway, we're on the grid. We've got 5 lights. It's a Season 1 throwback. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. Lots of wheel spin for Pete off the start. He's going to fall down possibly behind Kira. Let's see. Yep, into turn 1. The man who finished 2nd place in the race last season is straight into second today. Ryan goes the race winner from last week, I believe. Ben Harrett. And also Jamie Wright once again off the road in Season 7 or Season 8. He's not having the best start, is he? As we see Casper, the Joker driver, trying to get round Pete. He'll be playing a little bit of a percentage game, I would have thought. Because accidents
another
early on
spinner
will
there.
ruin
Arnold's
that.
off.
Yes, Arnold's off. I saw another car. I wanted to say that was risky as well off, but or possibly just avoiding. Side by side, still for 3rd place.
And Gareth is out
of the race on those hard tyres. He's one of the Joker drivers, and we have a VSC. A lot happened there, didn't it?
It did. It was, first of all, it was lovely to hear your famous line, which you stole from Darrell Waltrip.
I was told in Singapore in Season 1 by Jack to use it. What do you want me to do? Not use it?
You know, I love it. Anyway, VSC is out. Whilst you were commentating what was happening at the front, I noticed that they were all sort of getting away from each other anyway, spacing themselves out. VSC is out here. I was looking further down the grid. I caught the risky and Arnold spin. You were right, I think, about Ben Harrett getting spun around because he qualified a lot higher.
Yeah, he was backwards into turn 1, I think.
A lot of drivers going wide at turns 1 and 2. So, yeah, not very good. Opening lap for a handful of these drivers. I did see Yori down in 19th at one point as well. He's back up to 14th. So, yeah, lots that happened and lots that we missed. So I can't bring it all to you. And I do apologise. Remember, pitting on... you tell I'm not a professional. We are green, by the way, but pitting on lap 1 and 2 means it is a non-mandatory stop. So your stops have to wait until lap 3.
Yes,
Khalifa leads the way.
There's a bit of confusion in Saudi Arabia when we all pitted under the safety car. No one quite knew what the rules were, so luckily everyone seems to have that under control now.
You mean people didn't read the rules when they were told?
Well, do you know what? It was Khalifa's fault, because he told me, no, your stop under safety car wouldn't be mandatory. It would have been, and so I got confused.
Oh.
Now, Jamie Wright, I don't know if he's got floor damage or what here, but he is spinning like a top, and he's already a good 30 seconds off the lead here. And you could already be writing him off here today, because this is terrible.
Meanwhile, on the run down to Cops...
Oh, Connor's off, spinning. And who else is that? Michelle Goris, but unbelievably, Connor was missed by everyone in the middle of the road there, and a lot of early incidents here. I'm surprised by that.
Very conveniently, I was on board with Jake O'Sullivan at the time, and he went to the right of Connor. Everyone else went left. It was, don't know what happened to Connor, but he was very much in the way there on the exit. Cops is Arnold fighting risky for what is P16. Every position counts. We've seen people get knocked out before by 1 point and count back as Khalifa, then Pete, then Corey, all set the fastest lap, one after the other. But Jamie Wright, as you say, something is not right with that car. Is it the driver or is it the car?
Looking
might
at
be
the
the
floor,
driver.
it's all very grassy and muddy and stuff. That would suggest there might be some lasting damage on there, but we'll keep an eye on the gaps. If he gets a safety car, of course, it brings him back into play. And as we see, Ben Harrett, he's already back up into P11 actually. He hasn't been last in turn 1. He's making a good run at it. As Pete and Kieran now go side by side. Pete obviously on the soft compound tyres. He's going to get more out of the tyres at this stage of the
hang on.
race.
Ben and Yori going at it. Ben puts Yori on the grass and then gives him the position. But it's going to leave Ben Harrett at threat to the likes of Jamie Griffiths, who's now at the inside, and they make contact. And Jamie Griffiths is on the grass as Jake O'Sullivan goes back through up into P13. So he's on a bit of a recovery drive as well. Michel Goris, the only man with a penalty and going for a spin. And there it is. Off the track he goes. Which means Jamie Wright will no longer be last. Through he goes.
By the way. Corey having a right go now at Kieran. Those medium tyres seemingly don't really have much pace in them at the minute. And Corey up into the top 3. Khalifa's well clear of DRS, but who's going to pit? It's going to be Corey straight in.
And that means, of course, if we get a safety car later on, we can make that under the just that safety car. I think a lot of people will be thinking about that. At a race like Silverstone, I don't think safety cars are all that likely, but you get your insurance pissed off out of the way early. Jake has a speeding penalty. Arnoud's in, Risky's in. Who else is that? Leroy's in as well. So 5 in on lap 3. And the rest will just fight it out in the road. I wonder if the likes of Khalifa and Pete will be seeing that undercut from Corey, because we know how quick he is.
Well, here goes Casper in the meantime, by the way, on Kieran. Easy move. Casper, by the way, looking very, very good. He's been quiet in the opening laps, but that is a good move to make. And yeah, that handful of drivers that get those early stops in. So everybody on course for strategy at the moment. The first stage point, I will remind you, is at the end of lap 7. Khalifa has a 1.7 second lead. And I tell you what, Casper is closing in on Pete here.
I'll tell you what, with Casper being up there, of course, if we do get less safety cars tonight, which I expect there to be less of, then that of course will help his strategy already being so high up this early on. That's what I was saying in qualifying. Kyle will have his eyes on this. He is in DRS of it. Obviously Kieran separates to 2, but keeping themselves very much in play, I think, for the win already, them two. It's going to require safety cars probably to put Khalifa and Pete back into it. Pete will possibly start to get this playoff point as Khalifa pits from the lead. If he can hold on, but that's a lot to say because Casper's in DRS and catching quickly.
Yeah, sorry, let me just keep up with that. Pete leads lap 4. I don't think we mentioned it, but Jake O'Sullivan picking up a 5-second speeding penalty on his way into the pit lane. Remember, he come here, what would have been 5 races ago now, for the Championship 5, and dominated the thing. Didn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
Went and won his second title, but already we've seen some minor errors from him, and now that penalty to compound his issues. He finds himself P17 on track here, and Casper is now hunting down what would be the net lead of this race as Pete has a little moment into Luffield, and we'll go on board with Casper as he is looking all over the back of Pete Knighton's gearbox. Will he do a naughty move down the inside of Pete into Copse? No, he won't. He's not close enough, but he's certainly letting the Season 1 champion know that he is very much there. Casper, a new driver this season. He has come back with a better head, better mindset, and better driving style. He really is one of those to watch. We brought back all the big names. We also brought in this new guy called Casper Klein. He's been brilliant so far this season. And now he's going to get the DRS on Pete Knighton. To the left he goes. No defence from Pete Knighton as Casper takes the lead in Silverstone. And Kyle through on Kieran. You can see that from the back of Pete's rear wing. Great move.
Interestingly, Pete decides to stay out even though the playoff point is gone. I'm not quite understanding that move, because he'll have Kyle overtaking him soon, and surely that'll be Corey undercutting him. So not sure that was the best move there from Pete. He's also out of ERS, so he really has nothing to fight with. So that might come back to bite later on there for Pete.
Maybe Pete is hoping for the safety car pit stop that you are entitled to make. Of course, one of those per race you are allowed. I tried it on Tuesday night and it backfired later on because everybody else had it in hand still. And then I lost out when the late safety car came out. But I managed to recover to P7. We see Ben Harrett in the pit lane and Jess Ball telling us in chat that it is an entirely dry race. So it is just overcast conditions that we are going to get here. Kyle now within half a second of Pete, so Pete's struggling on those softs. They are not the tyre to be on at this stage of the race. Quinn currently sits P5 and Kieran is 4th.
Casper will be enjoying this because he has now a 1.5 second advantage over Kyle, who will be struggling in a little bit of dirty air here behind Pete. Oh, and he nearly loses it actually through Chapel. Luckily Kieran's not close enough to take advantage, but that will stop Kyle passing Pete on this straight. Now will Pete pit? I think he sort of has to, as NK Bourne goes for a spin. Doesn't take any damage to the car, at least nothing big enough to cause a safety car, so we'll keep going. Pete does pit this time, I reckon possibly even 2 laps too late. Should he have followed Khalifa in, will Corey undercut him? We'll keep our eye on it. Yuri up to 7th place now on those hard compound tyres. He's going to go properly deep into the race. He'll be one to watch right at the end because he's also on the Joker. That'll probably be onto some nice fresh shots, I would have thought, and waiting as long as he can for the safety car. He can basically do the whole race in that hard compound, so definitely one to watch. He'll be up to 6th now with Pete in the pits.
Yeah.
And let's see where Corey is in comparison to the Season 1 champion. I think that's the one to watch.
I think it's going to be quite close, isn't it? Corey coming down the main straight now. Pete Knighton is coming out the pit lane. This will be very close, Owen Wyatt. You see Pete on the right. It's not going to be as close as we thought. So Corey is through on the Season 1 champion there. And by the way, you keep bringing up these jokers. I'm very glad that you do, because if we leave it until lap 28 this week, the race would have finished. Again, my extended apologies to Ben Harrett for letting him go all the way for, what was it, 95% of the race. And I was like, hang on, he might win this.
There's no better feeling when you win a race than going onto the stream to listen to the commentators call you, you know, the man who's about to be disqualified the whole race.
I did my best to big him up at the end. I even got where he lived correct. Ben Harrett currently finds himself in P16. I know where he lives. Here are the current stoppers. So it's Khalifa down. Everyone has made one stop. And your jokers, to remind you, including Gareth, who is out of this race, Casper, Kyle, Yuri, and Jamie Griffiths there in P8. But we'll go back to tyres, because I know people like the tyres. We see Quinn pit from P5, so he should come out somewhere around Leroy, I should imagine, because Arnoud and Jake have had their problems. Still on board with Corey here as Jamie Wright picks up a 3-second penalty. Closest battle on track, I think, is this one, or maybe Ben Harrett and Jake O'Sullivan, but we'll stay with Mike Kelterborn and Yuri. A lot of history here as well, isn't there? We love these old rivalries. It really is a throwback to the glory days, as Owen Wyatt said earlier. And here goes Mike Kelterborn. Will he do a send down into that corner? No, he won't. Thinks better of it. But letting Yuri know he's there. Yuri will hope for no issues. He just wants to have a clean race as we get yellow flags for a spinning Jamie Wright. You'd never have guessed it, as he gets that car facing the correct way.
I think Yuri, obviously, he'll be playing the long game here, won't he? Because you can see MK Born has pace. He was ahead of Yuri before his spin and has recovered quite well from it. And let's say, I think, you know, if you're Yuri, you're waiting until, say, what, lap 20 or something for your safety car. So really, there's no point fighting people if they come near you. Unless, of course, they're Jamie Griffiths. Although he does have a penalty, he is another Joker driver, as Jamie Wright goes off again. We got to look out and see if he hits a wall at any point, because that could trigger a VSC or a full safety car. But let's say I have to assume there's damage on that car.
He's not far away from being lapped either, yeah. Here comes Casper. Casper, by the way, did win stage 1, so that's a playoff point to him. The next stage is at the end of lap 13. Casper also currently leading the most laps in this race, with 4 to Khalifa's 3, and Pete has the other 1. This is lap 9, so about nearly a third, about a third of the way through, aren't we, of this race so far. Casper from Kyle and Kieran. Kieran, the lead runner of those who still need to pit, who isn't on a Joker. I do wonder if that's a glitch as well. I don't know if you know any more, Owen, but Kieran is actually the number 25 car, but he has 3 on the side of him. Well, I've seen a lot of drivers running 3. I just wonder if that's a game issue.
It has to be, because that's Daniel Ricciardo's race number.
Yeah.
And of course Daniel Ricciardo is sort of in the game now, so I think that must be the game having an issue.
Gotta be. We can't punish him for that then, sadly. So we all love a penalty here in JACKOCAR. So much so that we've introduced a credit system. Is this Jamie Wright? It is.
He's nearly in the way of the leaders this time. That is, I'd be petting out of the way if I'm you, but not, well. Knock out the market boards. I don't know who else going to help, but yeah, this is basically a write-off now for him. He can finish and get points for getting to the checkered flag, but he will be the last man to finish the race almost certainly at this point.
Yeah, 19th will gain you 1 point. In fact, the bottom 5 positions gain you 1 point, and then they go up 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 15, and then for winning you get 20, and that's currently the position held by Casper, who has extended his lead then to 2.7 as we see Jamie Wright go off again.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he is on wheel, isn't he now?
He is now on wheel,
so
and that is part of the issue.
Yeah, it is part of the problem. But still, I suppose it's trial by fire, isn't it? But I suppose you just have to keep going, or else you'll never learn.
Exactly, he's too far committed into Will to go back to pad, because if he goes back to pad, he'll be slower. As Khalifa makes a move then on Joker driver Jamie Griffiths, so that now means net Khalifa is ahead of Jamie, both of them with one stop to go. And closest battle on track. Oh, and what is this one still? Mike and Yori down into Cops once again. Let's go on board with Mike having to lift ever so slightly.
I might stick with Khalifa because I reckon he'll try and jump the two of them here, because he'll see Yuri's on the worst tyres out there at the minute, and he knows that's net third place in front of him as Jamie Wright goes off again. He is actually in the wall this time, but no major damage. Kieran's into the pits. Khalifa closes on both cars. Will he get at least one of them, or will he just follow MK Born through on Yuri, or are they just going to stay side by side then? So MK Born pits. Khalifa, he might even just wait for the DRS, the next DRS zone, to get Yuri, but I feel like he's got it pretty much under control. Jamie Griffiths couldn't get him as he actually goes off into the gravel. Jamie Griffiths, the Joker driver.
So he does. Missed that.
Anything. Oh, well, that's a bit of an unfair penalty. I don't know if he can appeal that. Wasn't really worthy of a 10-second penalty now. He just sort of had a snap through the final corner, possibly hit the red curb, and it just sent him spearing off as Jamie
Wright out
in the pits has finally given it up. And Khalifa, there he is, past Yuri. Net third place now.
Yeah. So that rules out the Yuri Joker. Obviously Jamie Griffiths and Gareth already had theirs ruled out as well. So it really is Casper and Kyle who you're relying on. I think Yuri needs a late race safety car, doesn't he, to make that strategy work now. Yellow flag still being waved as J-Luke leaves the session. Means Michel Goris is down in last. We see Yuri go wide on the exit of Cops here, but Khalifa certainly on one. And by the way, where's Cuba? Currently running P3. This is where he finished on Tuesday night in Spain in the Kia Series, getting his campaign off underway. He was joined on the podium by Robin Border in P2 and Danny Quinn, who advanced to the playoffs with that win, his 6th win in the Kia Series. And we see Quinn down in P11 at the moment here in the Cup Series in Silverstone as we approach lap 13, or we stay on lap 12. We're on lap 12. I was on board the wrong person. Yeah, Casper's gap, by the way, sorry Owen, has just started to shrink a little bit to Kyle.
So these two, they will be probably going, I would say, sort of another 4 or 5 laps before they make their one and only stops. And Khalifa, I suppose, he'll try and aim it for the same second stage as over at the end of lap 13, isn't it? So obviously no one can think about their second mandatory stops until at least lap 14 in that case.
That's correct, yeah. Casper, by the way, by winning stage 1, he became the 7th different stage winner this season. So 7 stage winners from 7 stages. However, the next stage is next lap. So he could become the first driver to win 2 this season. The other stage winners are Pete, yourself, Owen, Khalifa, Jake, Kieran, and Corey. So yeah, that gap has just crept back up. So maybe Casper's had a better middle sector versus Kyle. Here is Kyle. And how's Khalifa getting on? Just no man's land at the moment.
Behind. It's because he's lacks a safety car. I said it to Khalifa before the race. Actually, we were discussing what the strategies would be like, and I sort of said to him this could happen because Silverstone, like I said, it just isn't a track that sort of causes safety cars, and you end up in this situation where you're doing your normal strategy, but if a Joker driver is decently quick, you've got no chance of beating them. And so I think Khalifa again is going to be just secure that podium and just. I think that's what it's going to be unless we get late race safety cars.
Yeah, so Khalifa very much net P3 on the road. A safety car would massively help him out. As Casper begins lap 13, which means there will be a stage point at the end of this lap for him. Keeping that gap to Kyle. I wonder what Waze's plan is. 2 stops in the latter half of the race. I guess one of them is he's also hoping for a safety car as Pete gets past Yuri for P5. So Pete's actually having a good race. Slight sluggish issues in the opening laps, but he has recovered here. This is 4th position. And away he goes.
only 2.5 off Khalifa, and Khalifa is one of the fastest in the league, as we saw with his qualifying lap. So Pete is definitely doing a good job, and it's good to see him on this sort of form, isn't it? We've not realistically seen this since season 1, possibly a little bit of season 2. So it is good that Pete is able to actually keep up now. And he's not had his Joker yet, has he? So
no, Pete's Joker is, let me tell you, is Qatar, and he is the only driver who has picked Qatar in the Cup Series. I think a couple have down in Kia Series though, as we see Waze finally pit. So this promotes Khalifa to P3 and gives Casper the second stage. So 2 playoff points for him, 1 for Khalifa so far with that pole position, and Yuri a 3-second time penalty for him. So not quite as good there.
See, I like that Qatar Joker for Pete, because that suggests to me that he is confident he'll be in the running for the Championship 5 then.
Yeah, that's a win,
Last
and you're
race
into the
before
Championship 5, yeah. Because if you don't win that one, it means you've got to have won the race before, which is the Super Speedway at France.
Yeah, good luck with that. I might be in the commentary box for that one.
A lottery. Yeah. You sure you don't fancy that one?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if I have a full tank at that point.
Well, yeah, you might well be, especially the way Jamie Wright's going. I wonder if he's thinking of giving it up for the season, going away and practicing and coming back in 2024, where JACKOCAR will return for season 9 and we'd like to think season 10. Who on earth will be your lead commentator then? I've no idea. It might be me. Might be you.
Probably will be one of us.
Actually, no, you said you're going to be season 9 champion, so
Yeah.
easy space for you if Arnold is having a swan song season.
There's no way.
No, he loves it too much.
He came back after like 4 seasons. He's not going to just retire now, is he?
I don't know. My conversations with him suggest otherwise. He's like, I want to do one more season with you. And that's exactly how.
Oh dear. That was awful.
I've always been good at the Belgian accent. Remember that one, guys? That's lap 15 if you want to watch that one back.
Oh dear.
Quinn gets past Leroy and Yuri, who finally pits. I need to cough.
His only stop of the day, Yuri, of course, on his Joker. And that wipes out his chance of doing it under a safety car, so that's possibly him accepting that the safety car is a difficult prospect today. Now, Corey went off at the final corner, and Kieran has now taken advantage on his nice, fresher, soft compound tyres. I assume he'll be looking at taking a second set of those towards the end of the race, as will Khalifa and Pete. But as for now, Kieran will be starting to close that gap on Pete. I would have thought. As a car off Michel Garis, he's done the same. Oh, he's going to be in the wall out of the race. And there's me saying about safety cars. There's a safety car, and
look at Casper straight in.
Hitting that, and that's fantastic timing indeed for Casper and for Kyle and for Khalifa, I suppose, because it lets him catch up.
And I'll tell you what, it's perfect timing for everybody who's made the stop already. Let me quickly put this on stop. So yeah, everybody now can complete their strategy. Casper and Kyle, the 2 jokers up front, so they can make this. This is their one and only stop. Khalifa, massive error there. 5-second penalty. Doing what Jake did. No way. So what about Kieran? Doesn't speed. Neither does Corey. Quinn will pit. They're all going to be in here, aren't they? Leroy and Jake making his way around. Leroy picks up the penalty.
I was saying this to my brother the other day. He was asking me about an investigation that he was doing for his league where someone had broken really early for the pits and substance. And I told him that you have to brake earlier than you would think because of the penalties, and this is proof of that. No one seems to realise how difficult this braking zone is, and it's catching so many out. Now look at this, Khalifa and Pete are on the mediums here, so their penalties are going to hurt them even more now.
Yuri's going to gain from this, by the way.
Waze has stayed out, which is odd. You would have thought he would finish his strategy.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Has he got a penalty as well?
Only 3 seconds, I believe.
Wow.
Where is it? There it is. Yeah, 3 seconds for Waze.
This whole situation means that if you are looking for a winner outside of a Joker driver, then it's going to be Kieran, because everyone else seems to be losing their chances with penalties. And Kieran, we know he's good run here. He nearly won here last season. That would have been the first back-to-back JACKOCAR champion as well. He was that close to it.
Yeah, thank God. First of all, nobody likes a two-time champion, but nobody especially likes a back-to-back champion. Max Verstappen.
Lewis Hamilton.
He did 3 in a row, didn't he?
He did 4.
He did 4, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Valid point.
Miserable time to be an F1 fan, that was. Mind you, Max will do about 20 at this rate.
Oh, God. I can't wait. Thank God I like NASCAR, eh?
Do you know what? I've been getting into NASCAR as well, you know? It's funny, that.
Good man. Proper sport.
Indeed.
So, yeah. The only problem that I find with the 17 remaining runners is Waze didn't pit. And I don't understand that. Obviously, he doesn't have to pit, but I don't know why he hasn't pitted.
Someone might need to get on the blower and just tell him box. I mean, Leroy's pitting again. This is to get rid of his 5-second penalty, I would have thought.
And that's very
smart.
clever. Yeah.
That is smart, because he's already down the field. He'll lose, what, 4 or 5 places, but those places he'll gain back because everyone around him has penalties.
Yeah, in fact, I will just bring the penalties up for everybody. So Khalifa and
he'll get
Pete.
softs on.
Yeah, which it's a bit of a stretch, but they should be all right. So Khalifa, Pete, Ben Harrah, and yeah, that's it. They are all the 5 seconds. Jamie Griffiths, I feel like, is a bit of a lost cause at this point. The other ones there, you see Sullivan Lewis, Yori, Corey Dalton, and Waze all have 3-second penalties.
I'm surprised that Jamie Griffiths is on mediums with where he is at the back. He's got all the penalties, of course, but I reckon he'll get that 10-second penalty taken off, but it gives him no chance now. I know you want to do your Joker strategy, but I feel like him being down there, I agree with you, he's a bit of a lost cause now.
Yeah. And don't forget, 2 seasons ago, he won here.
Yeah. How times change.
Yeah.
And that was a dramatic race against OKK of all drivers, wasn't it?
Final lap as well. You can't blame OKK for sending it. I just think he was let down by the collision system in the game.
Yeah.
That's why Jamie Griffiths was able to hold it strong around the inside. It was.
Not to take anything away from for that win, of course, but it's just a shame that race ended the way it did.
Both of them deserved to be there, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's one of those rare ones where you get a different winner, somebody who isn't a Jake or a Kieran or a Ben Shaw. But safety car, Owen White will be in this lap. A little bit of confusion earlier over where the restart area was, because it was based on pictures from the old game where there's a sausage curb on the outside, but where
that isn't one.
Where the raised curbing ends, that is where the restart zone begins. So we'll show you from Casper's point of view when we get round. Of course, no weaving.
That curb is just muscle memory, isn't it? Because everyone hated that curb. We always expect it to be there, so I don't think they'll get confused by it.
So it's going to be a 9-lap dash to the end. Kieran Spears, no weaving under safety car once it's been called in, please. I did note that. I've not had to go to VAR yet today, and apologies whilst I have this spare moment for my fan, if you can hear it, and Owens as well. It's far too hot in 30-degree weather to do this. But here goes Casper Klein of Finland. He can begin anytime he wants. A 5-second penalty for Connor. Silly. But here goes Casper, getting everything restarted at Silverstone. And it's a nice, clean getaway for him. But he has Kyle, Khalifa, Waze, Pete, Kieran and Corey all in tow as we head on down towards turn 3 then. And there's a little bit of fanning out behind. We see Corey and Pete trying to make moves on Kieran, but Kieran has the inside line. Pete will go around the outside, will he? He's right there, but Kieran has a slightly better line, and he will stay there. Let's go on board with Corey, who now is in the slipstream of Pete, and he's going to box him in there. Corey making a move for P6, and he now sits behind Kieran. Will Pete fight this back? No, he won't. He runs out of road. And that was the only major position change there. Waze has managed to hold on to P4. It gets in the way of Kieran. That was almost an aeroplane collision, but they're going to be 3 wide on the run down to Cops. Owen Wyatt. Through goes Corey. What a move. 2 in 1 corner. And what about Pete Knighton now? Can he try and get through and squeeze it away through Maggots and Beckett's? No, he can't. Waze is down in 6th. Corey is on now for a good chance of winning this race if he can catch up to those leaders. Unbelievable scenes. One of the best moves I've ever seen in JACKOCAR as Arnold overtakes a 2-time champion, Jake O'Sullivan, who's going to remain on the inside here. Down in the stow they go, and Jake gains a position back, but Arnold's going to stay on the outside. A little bit of wheel banging, but you can do that in JACKOCAR. Arnold goes to the left, and what a move! Contact there, 3 wide again, and there's going to be a spin for Arnold. What a move! That's Jake O'Sullivan. Big crash!
And there's safety car.
And that will. It's got to be. There's a VSC at least. But what a restart lap there at Silverstone. Unbelievable.
It's going so well to the final chicane, but there's a safety car right now. And that was just too many cars getting involved there right at the end. But I must say, Corey, Kieran, Wes, and Pete, that was extraordinarily well driven, because that could easily have been an airplane crash, as Jacko said. Particularly good for Kieran when he realised he was in the middle of those two going into Cobbs to just let off the throttle, because it gave them all the chance to get through. And, well, we saw what happens when you stay 3 wide. It ends in accidents. And luckily no one actually got taken out by that crash, so they'll all get a chance under the safety car to put some nice fresh softs on. And so it's not the end of the world for these guys. It just gives them another chance to have a breather after that was it's a very intense lap.
I'll have one as well, shall I? What a lap that was. And yeah, like you say, those drivers with penalties, they can now pit and get rid of them. It allows Connor to catch back up. We don't know what happened to Connor as he does overtake the safety car there. He got a 5-second penalty for pitting, making a non-mandatory stop following the safety car in. So he's not out of this race, but that was a silly error on that previous lap. However, not that silly, because he avoided all the carnage behind. And a lot of position changes. The first half of the lap we saw Pete and Corey, and then the rest of the lap was everybody. And that was absolutely brilliant stuff. You only get this in JACKOCAR, the pinnacle of esports. I say it every week as we see Waze. Oh, he's pitting. My apologies.
Yes.
It's about 5 laps too late, but Waze does pit.
And so I reckon 3 will be in for front wings, and then a few more just for penalties perhaps.
Here they are, Quinn, Ben Harrett, Jamie Griffiths, Arnold, who definitely needed one, Leroy, and I imagine Connor will as well to get rid of that penalty. But yeah, I was on board of Arnold for the final third of that lap, and he had to send it because of I think it was Sullivan, who was braking early for the cars in front. They'd all concertinaed up, but of course Jake went outside, Arnold went inside, and all of a sudden they were 3 wide without even knowing it. Quinn having to wait for other cars here. He's actually lost out in this array of pit stops. That'll be frustrating for him. And Connor doesn't pit, by the way. He takes track position and will come out 13th.
Yes, I mean, I think at this stage you get rid of your 5-second penalties if you have them. And I guess Connor and Ben Harrett must have got a new one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, obviously, well, apart from Khalifa and Pete, they shouldn't have pitted, and they didn't. But how many laps are we going to get left with then? What, 5 laps?
Yeah, something like that. Of course, those penalties, they won't be able to get rid of them either because they are speeding ones.
Yes, they've got no choice but to just accept it, because let's say it's the Silverstone pit lane. I'm surprised more people don't realise just how early you have to brake. Because if anyone, I don't know how many use the racing line, but the racing line just tells you to brake way too late.
I think it's everybody. Khalifa may be the only one who doesn't use line, but I think he does. So we'll wait for the field to catch up here, and then we'll probably go at the end of the next lap. If I'm, if I'm Ben Harrett and if I'm Connor, I'm still pitting this lap. Just get the penalties off. Yeah, 100%. There's so many in front of you who have penalties that won't be taken off. You can have your penalties taken off and only have 5 laps. You're not going to lose 20 seconds. And Connor stays out, so he's not listening to me.
Ben Harrett is listening to me, and it's the right thing to do. You're last anyway. Just get your penalty off, and you'll be on the best tires as well. It's a win-win situation.
Casper, by the way, picks up the playoff point for most laps led. He has led this race since lap 5, so that's 16 laps in a row he's led, a season record.
So he's overtaken me as the
I think he has, and of course there's still 6 to go. But yeah, that's 3 playoff points this evening for Casper, and of course should he win on this strategy, that'd be 10 because he is a Joker driver. But of course there's Kyle sat right behind him, no penalties as yet, so also in contention to get 10 playoff points. And then there's the unlikely event now that Khalifa or Pete should win. They might win, but they certainly won't get the extra playoff points. And don't forget Corey and Kieran very much in the mix when we get this going again. Yuri, somehow his strategy has paid off and he sits P7. Jake O'Sullivan, who had an awful first half of the race, is slowly but surely creeping his way back towards the front, and crucially no penalties on board the number 40 car. MK Bourne sits 9th. Sullivan Lewis, playing golf on Saturday with him in the 37 car, is P10. Ways, who made a very late pit stop, is actually P11 but has a penalty. Jamie Griffiths with a 10-second penalty plus a 3-second penalty is P12, but a Joker driver. Connor Byers, who still has that 5-second penalty on board, is 13th. Arnold, who was in the wars on the last restart, is 14th. Leroy is 15th. Danny Quinn 16th, and Ben Harrett, last week's race winner, brings up the rear as we head down towards Maggots. But I think, Owen, this is going to be safety car in this lap, maybe? Certainly looks it.
So. I would have thought so. I don't see any reason why it needs to stay out, and indeed it won't.
There it is.
And Casper, he had a fantastic restart last time round, so he'll just be hoping for more to save. Kyle had absolutely no answer for it. And, well, everyone behind, they know what to expect now in these restarts, so, yeah, fasten your seatbelts, it should be interesting.
Yep, we will go back on board with Casper, and we'll see what Kyle does. Casper will be hoping for Kyle to get involved in some sort of issue with Khalifa or Corey. But here goes Casper, and he's gone earlier this time, but Kyle has read it slightly better, and there is on board with Kyle. So we'll go down on the run in towards turn 1, and then 2. Casper's rear end looked a little bit looser, and Kyle is definitely closer. But don't forget, Khalifa, Corey, Kieran and Pete are all very much part of this battle. In fact, Kieran looking up the inside of Corey already early doors, but what can Khalifa and Kyle do with Casper down this back straight? Corey weaving to try and get rid of Kieran from the slipstream. Khalifa runs wide. Corey with the better and tighter line. Casper, by the way, has had this race under control since lap 5. He's looked good all day long, and he has 5 laps to go here in Silverstone to try and capture what would be his 7th victory in JACKOCAR. His first one coming at France about a year and a half ago. He leads the guys through turn whatever it is, it's Copse, and then into Maggots and Beckett's, and soon to be Chapel. Kyle and Khalifa looking for an answer as we ride on board with Corey. Kieran has been dropped. Yellow flags further back for Quinn. What will Corey do on the run down into Stowe as he looks at the back of his ERT teammate Khalifa? Nothing doing this time as Casper just starts to extend a small gap over Kyle, but they're all very much there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as they come through this final section of the lap, and then it's going to be 4 to go now. Owen Wyatt.
Jake O'Sullivan was doing well, but he's now right at the back. Oh, it's going to be another accident. 3 or 4 cars involved in the main straight. Leroy, we've got Jamie, we've got MK Bourne, and that's another safety car. Quinn, full throttle into the pits. He'll be regretting that now that there's a safety car. That would have bailed him out. And it means that we're basically going to be on for a last lap restart. It sort of undoes the point I was about to make, which is that I reckon that Corey and Khalifa are the fastest 2 out there. And I was going to say, you know, get them a chance with DRS. They might have been able to get up to the front, and then we'll see what penalties would do to that. But now, with all those cars off at the final corner on the main straight, it basically means all Casper has to do is survive a no DRS zone. There'll be no DRS now for the end of this. So it means Kyle, if he wants to win this race, he's going to have to send it somewhere. and I think Khalifa and Corey and I effectively out of it. And that all must have started with Jake O'Sullivan, because he's down in 13th from the front line. He'd fallen to a bout there before all the accidents started, so it appears to me that it all kicked off again at the final chicane, led onto the final corner, and they just cannot get through there cleanly today by the looks of it.
My apologies as I missed all of that on camera. At least Owen Wyatt caught it for you all. That is, or was, his job for 7 seasons. So I say 6.5 seasons, actually, because the last season was a bit of a mess, wasn't it, with your social life? I'm semi-surprised this is not our first red flag.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Where the hell are the red flags at? That's a 3 or 4 car accident there and nothing.
But it is Silverstone.
It's too late in the race for that. Or maybe we need to up the setting.
It's never too late, is it? It's never too late. But yeah, it might be a up the red flag rule
for next race. Please and thank you.
JACKOCAR, no stranger to introducing mid-season rule changes. We have to get a lot of stick for it, but they tend to be for the better, for the greater good, if you will.
Well, what's the point of a new rule if it's not extremely controversial and alienates half the grid?
This is it. Oh, Corey, that's silly.
Oh dear. That is very silly, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, of course, JACKOCAR also no stranger to a bit of controversy, are we? The return of Paul McGuinness on Tuesday highlighted some of the great memories that we had from Hungary in season 3. Car 96 was thought about, of course, the win that Khalifa gave to Paul McGuinness. And yeah, that was one of our darker nights in the league history, but certainly one of the more entertaining ones.
It was a fun night regardless. Listen, it was a fantastic strategical move. Because no offence to the fella, but there was no chance Paul McGuinness has ever won that championship. Guaranteed his spot in the playoffs was the smart choice. It just so happened to be extremely entertaining. And a little bit dodgy, but you know, it's fine.
That's fine, no, nothing wrong with that. Let them play on. Let them race, as I usually say.
At least it wasn't a bump and run.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder, Owen, if...
Speaking of which, you could get one actually tonight, couldn't we?
We could. And this is exactly what I was going to say. I wonder if the safety car will come in this lap. Sod those 3 at the back who aren't with us, Jake, Danny and Jamie Griffiths. Look at them all queuing up here. We are going to get a 2-lap shootout, so there will be no more safety cars. This is very much a green-white checker. For those of you who watch NASCAR, you'll understand the reference.
I know what that means.
Hey, finally. Said he'd taken 3.5 years.
I know.
So, 15 left, and only a handful of those are actually really going to win. Casper and Carl, the Jokers, 10 playoff points await them if they put it all together. Khalifa 5 seconds, Corey 6 seconds, Kieran no seconds. Pete Knighton has 5, and I think Yori has 3. Wace, by the way, has made his way up to P8. So anything can happen here. Anybody can win this race. Will Kyle send it on Casper Klein? This is 3rd restart he's had to do.
His slowest as well. He's so slow, isn't he?
Yeah. And I love what he's doing here. He's trying to catch them out. Can he beat them as he has done twice before? He starts to build up and away he goes. But I think Kyle was onto that one. And will they fan out further back? Let's go and look behind. Yes, they do a little bit.
Oh,
but
Casper's off. Surely Kyle's going to get him. Sorry to interrupt, but a slide through turn 1 and Kyle's up the inside.
But Casper's going to fight it. Wow. Defending when he needs to. He made a mistake, but he's made up for it. But it's going to give him intense pressure for the next 3 minutes. As we see Corey go off into the barrier, and he won't win this race. Khalifa back up the 3rd. Pete Knighton is now 4th. Is there contact between Khalifa and Kyle? No, there's not. Kyle now, he has seen a weakness, a chink in the armour, as we see Corey retire. A chink in the armour of Casper. Will that excite Kyle towards a 12th race victory, or will Casper go and get his 6th? Or will these two collide and give Khalifa his 12th? We've got a lap and a 3rd to go here at Silverstone, and it's all starting to kick off, but the front 3 have broken away from the rest of the pack here.
The rear's gone mental. Arnaud cannot believe what he's seeing. He's on for a podium all of a sudden. And if he can just get by Kieran, he looks way quicker than him, he'll be up there, but they're all starting to get close as Khalifa...
Wow.
Oh, into the side of Kyle. That's just going to let Casper get away, you two. That's a bit of a clumsy decision to sort of fight there. And Casper, as long as he keeps it in a straight line, through the turn 1 this time, he'll be fine. But there, look at them all side by side by side by side.
And here we go, Owen.
Corner.
It is hectic. It's one to go here at Silverstone as we see Quinn giving no room to Connor on the outside. Through turn 1 they go, and that's the battle for 13th, would you believe? Back at the front, Casper has 4/10 to Kyle, who's got back through on Khalifa. But Pete Knighton and Yori have also got a lot closer. They've all been bunched up as Casper tries and breaks the toe of Kyle as they come down the Wellington straight. And through they go. Kyle, big lunge around the outside, but there's nothing doing there. Into Luffield they come. Corey leaves the session. See you next week. We'll go on board with Kyle as he seems to have gapped Khalifa this time. And of course has a penalty anyway, so the battle we see Ways as well. He is out, so there's only going to be 13 finishes. Kyle looking down the inside of Corpse, but there's no room. Casper carries on in the lead. There's going to be just 1/3 of a lap to go at Silverstone. Casper chasing the big win that he didn't get last season, a win that would put him into the playoffs, a win that would make it 4 in a row this season. And Casper, it almost looks like job done, half a second in it. And here comes Khalifa on Kyle down the inside at Stowe. Will he get the move done? Maybe, but it doesn't matter anyway because there is penalties to be applied after this race and there's contact there. More contact as they head down in the final corner. But like I say, it doesn't matter because Casper, keep it on the straight and narrow, my son. You're going to be a winner. And JACKOCAR once again across the line he goes. It's Kyle P2 and Jake, after the race he had, jumps up to P3, and Arnold after his race jumps up to P4 with Khalifa 5th, Pete 6th, Sullivan 7th, Fiore 8th, Ben Harrett, last week's race winner, in 9th, and Quinn rounds out the top 10. What a frantic end to JACKOCAR and Silverstone, where it has once again delivered the goods.
Yeah, that was breathless, that end to the race. It was Kieran and Waze who collected each other on the final lap. That's why Kieran fell right to the back. It's probably what cost Arnold the podium. And Kieran, as you may... Oh my goodness. In the chat, he's not very happy.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah. We can't repeat that on stream. But, faster man in seed speed. Slowest to leave the lobby, though. How long did that take him? He was forever watching that race. He must have had a good time. Should have got him in the commentary box if I knew he was still watching. But
I forgot.
Oh dear. And yeah, that was a very dramatic end. So much to be said about no safety cars, but it's just they could not get through that final corner. It all started with Michelle Gurries getting it all wrong, trying to recover onto the track and then just spinning back into the wall. And then they just couldn't stop going side by side for there, and it was very dramatic stuff. And Kyle, I'm sure he'll be sitting there thinking he should have won that race. He had the golden opportunity and he just could not make the move stick.
Casper,
not to take it away from Casper, of course, but I think Kyle, he'll know what he did wrong there.
11, 12, 13, 14. Casper Klein walks away with 14 playoff points. He wins the race. He's a Joker winner. He won both the stages, and he got fastest lap, and he led the most laps. The other playoff points go to Khalifa with the pole, Kyle and Jake with their podiums. So there you go. Unbelievable scenes. Casper from Kyle and Jake, then Arnold and Khalifa, who still hasn't won a race this season. Pete, Risky, Yori, Ben Harrett, Quinn, your top 10. Then Connor, Jamie, Kieran round out the finishers. Everyone else was a DNF there. Waze, Corey, Leroy, Mike, Michelle, Jamie Wright, and Speed Gareth, who we lost on the opening lap. What a race.
I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. That was very good. And, hold on, let me get you some numbers. Don't forget, the drama continues on the 12th of September next week, where the Kia Series head to Miami. And then, of course, the Cup Series, we go to Japan. And Owen, I fully expect you to be back in the driver's seat for that one. I imagine Danny Quinn joining me in commentary for that one. But,
yes.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome back to comms. I think you enjoyed that, really, didn't you, deep down?
Yeah. Well, I just said I did, yeah. It was a good race. I was a fan of it. For Silverstone's sometimes inconsistent standards, that went quite well. And I know, obviously, we now get to enjoy the aftermath of that in the chat, because there are some who are very happy, some who are very unhappy, and some who might kill each other if given enough of a chance. So that's just classic JACKOCAR. We like to see that.
You wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So once again, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and we shall leave you with that. Have a good evening.